Este es un contenido de Uninorte Académico. Suscríbete, aprende y comparte.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here at Cátedra Europa, the 25th version of this institutional event where we bring academics from Europe. I would like to welcome Veikko Ikonen. Veikko is Manager for Responsible Research and Innovation at VTT, Technical Research Center at Finland. He has a PhD in Cognitive Science from University of Jyväskylä in Finland and a PhD from Anthropology from University of Oulu of Finland as well. Prior to joining VTT, he has worked at the University of Oulu. Why is VTT important? It is one of Europe's leading research institutions owned by the Finnish state. They advance utilization and commercialization of research and technology. Through scientific and technological means, they turn large global challenges into sustainable growth for businesses and society. And Veikko is here today to talk about responsible research and frugal innovation. Thank you, Veikko, for being here.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Let's start the show. And first I need to correct Jana a bit. So PhD is still in the process. Next year. So I'm Veikko Ikonen, like Jana introduced, coming from Technical Research Center of Finland. My talk will be mostly about responsible research and innovation. And let's see if I can get there to the frugal innovation, which is kind of a part of responsible approach for the development of technologies and innovations. So that's my background already, like Jana was saying. So I'm now the manager of responsible research and innovation. So mainly a bit moving from the research to the managing these issues at the VTT. So implementing RRI, responsible research and innovation, into day-to-day work at VTT. So what I'm doing, my background, as Jana was saying, is in cultural anthropology. So we call it human-driven design. So user studies, ethnography, usability studies, and then also ethical assessment in the development of technologies. So here's some of my duties also mentioned. So I'm a member of a couple of ethics committees, and now this year also joined the Finnish National Board on Research Integrity. So even the research ethics is now coming more in my field, in my sector too. So here's the one picture, kind of an example that what I'm doing. So here's the one project where we are developing a smart plaster called APATS. So it will identify tuberculosis from volatile compound particles from skin. So that's from the demonstration at Tampere, which I probably already mentioned that it's a very nice place. You should come there. It's like Barranquilla, a little bit colder between two lakes, but very nice place. So if you come to Finland, please come to Tampere. And here is another project. This is called Vocas. And here we are in Sao Paulo. In the middle is Valentina Rangel from Bogota. So we have in this project also partners from Brazil, Chile, and Colombia. So actually now, today, and probably a bit later, these two devices, breath samplers, are in Bogota in Hospital San Ignacio. And there we do sampling for gastric cancer. So the similar kind of thing, volatile compounds from your breath can identify gastric cancer. That's the ultimate goal. We are not yet there. It will take a bit time to do the data analysis and develop the technologies to be robust enough. But yes, that's the goal. So that's an example. These both are EU projects. So we want to work, of course, globally. So basically, if you have any ideas that VTT can join in your proposals, but also we are very willing to get you in our proposals for, let's say, research and innovation actions. Shortly about the VTT. So as Jana was saying, we are one of the leading research organizations at VTT. We have a bit more now employees, I would say 2,200 or something like that. And then, like I said, our promote is the utilization and commercialization of research and technology in business and society. And we do development in all kind of areas. So here is kind of main titles of our business areas: carbon neutral solutions, digital technologies, sustainable products and materials. Very shortly about those. This is really something that we could call smart city, but it's also, of course, going to the rural areas. So that's something really to not only get the kind of an zero energy districts, but also positive energy districts. Digital technologies in all areas, so personal health and wellness. And now the really hype word is the quantum computing. So even though we could think that faster computing will always be a beneficial, we need to take into account also some risks that might be linked to the quantum computing. So ethical assessment, again, is really important in that sense. And then SUSA, sustainable products and materials. So sustainable food systems, we have a lot of work in food technology, also synthetic biology, new and renewable materials. So anything, don't ask me, but I have contacts to all the VTTers, so you may ask them and I will deliver your answers later on. But let's go to the subject. So RRI, what it's about, and I think that this is really important to understand that ethics is everywhere, and then every day we confront issues that kind of have the ethical perspective. When talking about the technology, so Melvin Kranzberg has put it very wisely, in my opinion, that the technology is not neither good nor bad, nor is it neutral. So always when we develop something, it's based on some values, targets, and in the very beginning, we need to think about that. Do we kind of think about the privacy issues, or do we want to be that technology very open? So this is probably the case where we can refer to China, because for example, in Europe, we have a kind of thinking that don't use Huawei phones because it might deliver your information to the China. But if you are sure that you have kind of a pet privacy enhancing technologies implemented in the technology, that's probably the better solution if your values are in the privacy and autonomy. So first Menti. So go to the Menti.com, put the 37131209 as a code, and this is the question. Do you know RRI? Yes? No? Or you think that it's acronym of rock and roll instrument? Let's see. How do you answer? I will go back. Let's take 2 minutes. It's kind of a hot here. One minute. I guess you are there. So let's see if I can use this and go to the internet and see the answers? No. It doesn't work. Let's try again. No. Okay, let's take the hands up then. Who knows about the RRI? Jana? Who doesn't know? Hands up. Very good. I will give you some information. Who thought it is the acronym of rock and roll instrument? Yeah, it could have been. So, responsible research and innovation was launched as an approach and concept about 20 years ago by EU. So, the aim of the EU was really to emphasize things that they think that were behind somehow in research and development activities. So, they were saying that ethics, it's there, but it needs to be stronger. Engagement, they were saying that, yeah, we need more stakeholder engagement and especially citizen engagement. They were saying that gender issues important. So mostly it meant that women needs to be more active and participating to the R&I activities more. Open science was important to share all the results, and science education, mostly to the, let's say, younger generations, to understand how important it is science and technology for the society. Okay, and this is a good approach if you are doing Horizon 2020 European Union project. And it's still good approach for Horizon Europe projects. But when we talked about with the companies in different kind of research and innovation activities, they wanted to have some other words and concepts. So we have this kind of words like inclusion, citizen science, transparency, diversity, regarding the ethics, also critical thinking, anticipation. And if we think about the science education, when you are talking about the, let's say, developing applications, services for professionals, it's mainly something that mutual learning, capacity building. And then you need to have the governance. So we are also referring this kind of an ethics by design approach. And they were saying that it's a positive, forward-looking and proactive ethical thinking approach. And it's not just looking problems or trying to find issues that needs to be handled, but should be actively being designed for and be inspired by achieving more ethically sustainable solutions. So there's also SDGs here below, because those could be those target areas that we are aiming in our project, in your project, of course, too. So you may use that as a kind of a reference map, that where is the most impact in that sustainable development goal. So this is the citation from René von Schomburg, and this is kind of the father of the RRI, and he's saying RRI should be understood as a strategy of stakeholders to become mutually responsive to each other and anticipate research and innovation outcomes underpinning the grand challenges, for example, climate change of our time, for which they share. So I think that our approach is quite well in line with RRI, these kind of things, because we are really also emphasizing stakeholder engagement. Because when you're doing this kind of research and innovation actions, you are not doing those alone. And if you want to do it for your target audience, so basically you need to get information from that context. And to be kind of to be sure that it's done properly. So then you need to increase knowledge among researchers and other stakeholders, and you need to involve them authentically to the processes. And then, of course, you need to allocate resources for that and build structures that really support that kind of an approach. And as we know, research and innovation is always something to the future. So it's a future-oriented approach. So Of course, we always need to follow laws and regulations, but when we go to the ethics, it can be more that we need to think that why we should study the subject. So we need to justify that why we need to do especially this research. But then, of course, it's about the research integrity and the quality of the research. So how we study the subject. And as we know, ethical and legal is not always the same issue. The thing might be legal, but we can find it that it's not ethical. So this is something that we done in some of the previous projects. We were implementing this RRI, Responsible Research and Innovation keys and approach to the project. And then we find out, of course, that it should be implemented from the very beginning. So you should include ethics experts in the planning of the proposal, but probably also now more stakeholders and the target audience, citizens, most probably. During the project, you do some kind of an exercises, training, co-learning. So it's mostly about the reflection of ethics and responsibility with partners, but also with external stakeholders. And then, of course, after the project, you disseminate, you share your good, but also, of course, your failures and bad experiences, because that's the learning, of course. So, a little bit repeating here. So you need to take into account ethics in the project design, ethics in product and technology design, but then you need to go a bit broader view. So think about that. What's the service? Because you might have a perfect technology. For example, our breath sampling. But how do you fit that into the system? For example, for the healthcare system. So that could be more challenging then. And there you probably need to use some kind of an modeling of that system. And we have used this kind of triple layered business model canvas where we include also ethics, socio-technical scenarios, because that's something that everyone can understand. So these are just examples of some tools. And of course, you need to think about ethics, responsibility in different levels. So from individual level to the organizations, society, in the global level. Here are just some examples of, let's say, ethical design principles, privacy, autonomy, integrity, and dignity, reliability that we had when we developed some mobile services in one of the projects. So I really like RRI, and I think it's, like I said, good in Horizon Europe world, but still I'm thinking that it could be developed. So that's why I have put this picture here. So I think that we should have a little bit more practical view than just giving kind of a nice concept, but how do you really implement those in the project? They might be even the company inside project, but how do you integrate those? So this is the proposal, and please comment and say that it doesn't work. Let's see. So I think that the most important is when you start to think about the new research, it's the enlightenment. So you need to think that, yeah, this is something good for our society. And then, of course, that how you will then make that research work. So what kind of an methods and approach you will use. And of course, I'm now here proposing responsibility by design approach, which includes several elements. You will see them now in the following slides. So the values are important, and what kind of values we could have. Like I said, responsibility by design approach, maybe you use global compact principles there, or sustainability development goals. It is always kind of an ask that, okay, it seems that this is a good approach, but what is the business value? Or we can think that in the lower level, it's just mitigating the risks. You identify the risks, and then you try to be cost effective, and probably you could inspire people, employees, when you are doing things more responsibly. But then, of course, it's not just the business value. So you should have a kind of a strong belief that this is something good for society and for community. And it gives kind of an equal benefits for stakeholders. So that's why I think that this kind of an approach could be sound. Yeah, okay, here is again these values. And one of the things that now companies have even proposed is this kind of planet-centric design. So we are not only thinking that it's anthropocentric, so humans in the center, but we should think about the planet first, because that's probably suitable for everyone. Okay, and then of course, like I said, you need to take into account law recommendations. So ethics in that sense, because we have ethical principles, we have ethical rules, we need to get ethics approvals in many cases. Doing the medical studies, it's compulsory. Doing human studies, it might be compulsory, so you need to be aware of that. So these issues also are important to take into account. Research integrity, ethical thinking in general, and like I said, ethical review in the human sciences, that might be very useful to understand that what kind of challenges you might have in a way during the project. So this is just to say that, yeah, laws and regulations, of course, but still ethics by design, ethical thinking is really important. So a little bit repeating. So I'm saying just that you need to talk about that. What's wrong? What's good? What's bad when you are designing, and contextualize the issues always, because you may have a general rules, general recommendations, but when you put them into context, then you only realize that how they impact in that situation. So I think that this is quite common now. We need to do ethics plan in a publicly funded project. So that's probably already there, but then how do you do this ethics plan? But I think that's a good advice. And then think about that if it's really going to the collection of sensitive data, like location data, healthcare related data, involving minors, elderly, then you probably need to think about these ethics approvals, ethics advisors, ethics boards, and this could be, of course, integrated with engagement plan. So from my perspective, engagement is the key, because like I said, you need to have stakeholders in the same table planning and designing the work. And that's not enough, because you can have the people around the same table, but do they have equal rights in that situation? So empowerment is challenging, but still I think it's the key and it's possible. And here we come, of course, to the concept as DEI, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we need to promote stakeholder engagement and involve stakeholders from quadruple helix. So citizens, policymakers, research, and companies, to inform all phases of product development and ensure that research and innovation activities are societally relevant and desirable. And then empowerment, we should enable equal participation, opportunities for identified relevant stakeholders. So that's, of course, quite a challenging thing, that how to find those relevant stakeholders and really enable equal participation. And then ensure possibility for authentic dialogue with stakeholders and create space for planning and building up commonly defined targets, goals, and actions. So probably nothing very new. It could be called participatory research, action research, Now, the citizen science is quite a hype word, buzzword also, but it's about co-design, co-creation, dialogical method, maybe like a living lab approach. So the proposal is that you need to do from the very beginning the engagement plan, but also then include that what kind of methods you use to really to emphasize, enable this kind of empowerment of stakeholders. And it's not only that we empower citizens, but all the stakeholders should be empowered in that kind of an space. And what is said, of course, is that if you don't evaluate, if you don't assess, you cannot really see that what's the impact. So you should evaluate both process, product, and system. And we have a couple of examples that how to evaluate responsible research and innovation process. So we have developed in another project this kind of a maturity model. And then here you have some concepts like open access, gender, ethics, governance, reflection. And then we have this kind of questionnaire for the companies, for the stakeholders. And based on those answers, we can see that where these companies, where these projects are already good, where they need to do some improvements. So that's something that you can find. Well, there's no reference, but I can deliver it to you later. And then in one of the projects, we have also developed a sustainable development goals evaluation model, also another responsible research and innovation evaluation model. And of course, here also it's important to identify risks. And of course, it will never be perfect. So you need to improve things, so enforcement, evolution, but also endorsement, that you share your good and bad experiences. And like I said, then of course, it's really important from the beginning to the dissemination and the exploitation plan, which is of course already required in Horizon Europe project, in any kind of project probably, but how do you really do that in a way that it tries to cover, let's say, the broadest audience as possible. And what we have also now regarding the responsible research and innovation is a new pre-standard. So it's called responsibility by design. And this is kind of a road map or kind of a foresight exercise for that. So you identify those drivers and challenges, risk and barriers, and then approaches, tools, and actions that you can use when you want to emphasize your responsible research and innovation actions in the project. And then in the lower level, you have those technologies that you are developing in that particular project. You can find that standard just by Googling responsibility by design standard. And here's kind of an steps of that standard. So you need to, of course, have a top management commitment, context analysis. So you need to analyze the organization, materiality analysis, and then this is this kind of an RRI actions, experiment and engage in the organization with stakeholders to inform the responsible research and innovation roadmap. And then, of course, the evaluation, validate your work, and then you can probably have this kind of a roadmap for the short-term, mid-term, and long-term actions for the project, for the organization. So this is just kind of shortly summarizing what I was talking. So important is to involve ethical RRI experts, design the project structure in a way that it supports ethical design, raising awareness within consortium members and with the stakeholders, and evaluating and communicating the ethical work outside and inside the project. And again, it's context driven. So, like I said, you may have these general rules, but it needs to be contextualized. Stakeholder engagement is crucial, and ethical approach, responsibility by design, should not be seen as a limiting approach, but as a way of finding new solutions and innovations. And it could be really integrated as a part of risk assessment and quality assurance. Okay, let's do another Menti. Are you ready? Put the Menti code, and the question is gender and sex important factors to be taken into account in the design of new technologies and applications? As we know, it's probably not working here, so we can do it. Yeah, it's not working. So let's again raise the hands. Who thinks it's important to take into account sex and gender? Jana? Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Who thinks it's not important? No one? Yeah, you. Good. Brave guy. And who said, I don't know? Who is unsure about this? Okay. Somebody. Okay. Like I said, the gender issue has been in the Horizon Europe and Horizon 2020 now raising up that it's really important to take into account. So I just give you a glimpse. I'm not sure, Jana, how much do I have time? Questions and feedback, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, see you later. So I'm just saying a couple of words. So it's important to really to think about the diversity, equity, and inclusion, because at least at our organization also I think that inclusive culture must be in place. So we have their trainings and awareness raising for that. But secondly, the dimension of inclusivity must be integrated into research and innovation context. And then I try to a bit clarify that why. Because that could really add value to the research in terms of excellence, enable researchers think critically about social inequality, gender norms, stereotypes, elucidate the needs and behaviors of diverse individuals. So we are just saying that there's a homogeneous group, and that's our target group, but we always understand that there's a diversity issues. And then support the development of goods and services with higher acceptance rates among diverse consumer groups. So the main message is, like I said, that science is not neutral. You need to understand the values and even then the diversity issues behind that. We have a lot of examples that somebody has designed something for himself, but it doesn't work for the other people because of the skin color, because of some other issues. So you need to take into account the audiences, different audiences. And it's also claimed that diverse working groups are higher in excellence. And of course, one of the most important reasons, of course, is that the funders now might require that. Okay, so that was really shortly about the diversity, equity, inclusion, and gender. Any questions regarding that? Or maybe we have that on the later. So let's go to the last Mentimeter. Why should we innovate affordable solutions? Do you think it will save resources? Raise your hand if you think so. No one thinks like that. You will. Yeah, good. Do you think that it will be a good business to innovate affordable solutions? Here we have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you can pick more than one. Yes. Yeah. And the last one, because it will make solutions available for the larger populations. Exactly. All these options are right. So very shortly about the Francis project, which is about the frugal innovation. So our aim there is to really to make frugal innovations with citizens in 4 countries or even more countries. We have challenges in different areas. So one is the culinary thing, so kitchen, household, and the other one is more like a water purification, solar panels, energy. So it's something that I think that really nicely already kind of has this responsibility by design approach. So the enlightenment is there, engagement is really important. So we really think that we have there citizen science, ethics, really important to understand, but also kind of not only laws and regulations, but how do we really involve different stakeholders regarding the benefit sharing. And if we have citizens as innovators, then we also confront the issues like intellectual property issues, IPR. So how do we really also reward or share the benefits of this innovation process with the stakeholders and especially with citizens? So, like I said, it's not really looking good, this other one, but it's about solar disinfection. The other one is about the culinary world, home care, and the good idea is really to have these challenges. So to have a different target audiences in Germany, Turkey, Bangladesh, India, and it will be kind of a virtual platform where the citizens can join, organize teams, and then propose some innovations, and there will be 3 phases. So they define, register, develop, deepen, and then they have some kind of not very advanced prototypes, and there will be a jury to evaluate them, and then we probably in the end will have a nice frugal innovation. So they are affordable, they should be suitable for those people who have innovated those, but then there are still challenges that how to really make them commercial, affordable, and what is really the benefit sharing and IPR issues within these groups. So I think that's it. Just minute. Yeah. So I'm really for pro citizen science. So how do we really involve citizens as partners doing our research? And I think that the extreme citizen science approach could be really something that we should look on it, because I think that to really to dig on those needs, what communities needs. So communities themselves should be there and co-design the approach and even the methodology for the research. And of course, it will be kind of a mutual learning, equal opportunities for different partners, and yeah, probably we could finally achieve kind of an empowered stakeholders in that end. So yeah, that's my talk now. I'm ready for feedback, questions, comments. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for such an interesting and enlightening talk. I have one question. How long does it usually take for the impact to be measured, or do you have like timeline as to when is it feasible and adequate to measure the impact of these innovations?
You mean the products more?
The products, yeah.
Products.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think that usually, yeah, in most of the projects, we are not getting to the real products yet. So they are not in the market yet. So still we can, of course, evaluate the sustainability at some level. The process we can evaluate quite easily, because we start from the beginning, we make the first evaluation, and then we kind of understand in the later phase, in the midterm, in the last final phases, that how the process has gone. I think that for the there's some still work to do on that. So for example, if we think about that, we use kind of a sustainable development goals framework. So it's still kind of tricky to have the right data from all the sources. But yeah, I think that that's really important in order to make that also that product is made sustainably and responsibly.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Hey, Mister, thank you so much for your presentation. And basically, I would ask you about if you can give some examples about some innovations that you're currently working on, or if you have working on in the past, and also have you how you have, or the team that you have worked on, or I don't know if you, I mean, actually are working on the innovations right now, but I mean, have you applied how your team or you have applied the process that you just talk about on the innovations? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, like I said, we have implemented and developed this responsibility by design approach in several projects, where we have kind of understood that how it will need to be contextualized in those projects. Like I give the example of this bread sampler. So that's kind of really something that would make sampling so much easier for the patients or for the scanning for citizens, but also easier for healthcare professionals. So that's one of the examples. Also, the smart plaster for tuberculosis could be one of the examples, that these kind of innovations that take into account a broader view and really focus on the target audiences are more suitable, are more usable and useful in that context. I could say that at VTT, in general level, we have a really nice innovation in food technology, in materials technology, and basically, I'm not saying that we have the full RRI approach in those projects, because I haven't been involved so much on those. But in general level, yes, we have the same framework. We just launched the sustainability program last year, and that includes a lot of these issues, the same elements that I was presenting. So yeah, it's kind of a fundamental there in all that we do at VTT.
Another question from the audience? No, I have one. With all what you said and the involvement of stakeholders, doesn't it make it much harder to innovate then, much more costly, much more long the process, much more messy as well? So doesn't it pose a barrier to breakthrough innovations?
Yeah, I've heard that many times. And somebody in the beginning of one project said that, okay, ethics and responsibility, yeah, okay, I will give you 1 hour and then we're done. I will go to do my stuff. Okay, so after that 1 hour, it was 2 hours. It was along this project, a lot of beer drinking, eating, and conversations. And then these stakeholders, the company people, understand, yeah, there might be something that we think about these issues. So I would say that, yes, that's the first issue, that say that it will bit more expensive, and we should go straight to do that thing. But then you are not thinking really systematically or holistically, and you might then lose your resources because you are going to the wrong direction all the time and not taking into account all the other issues. So it's good to stop sometimes and think about and use external comments also. So I think that, yeah, it's really relevant, and be prepared for those questions that how it will be messy and things like that. People are messy.
And so if you start with that process, that's a barrier. What are the other main barriers that you can see to implement the RI framework?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the main barrier that you need to make the people aware and understand that, yeah, we are together talking about the issues. I'm not lecturing to you, but I'm also learning from you, and this is our common space for really develop things. Because I was talking about the citizen engagements, I think that that's the barrier to really to get them involved in an equal way and in an empowered manner. So I think that there's a lot of things that we really need to think about that how we get, because we usually always get those usual guys who are always there, but how to get those underrepresented, marginalized people involved, and how to really to also allocate resources from the very beginning of the project to make that work. So from my point of view, that's the main barrier.
Thank you very much, Veiko. Any other question from the public? Then thank you very much again for your interesting and new talk for us. Thank you to all of you for accompanying us today in Cátedra Europa. And we will expect you here again at 10:30 with a talk on entrepreneurship and digitalization. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. See you later.